My guest today is considered a hero among immigrants. Can you guess why? The clue lies somewhere in $1 million. Today's show is about figuring out how to survive the tides against us, against immigrants, and finding out what resources are available during this very difficult time of immigration anxieties, police brutality, and the pandemic. Welcome to this special episode of the Immigrant Magazine Weekly with one of Los Angeles' most inclusive, kind, and engaging politicians. Considered an outstanding ally to immigrants, Councilman Curren D Jr. of the new 9th District has a long track record of standing up for immigrants. With a fundamental belief that keeping families together is the humane thing to do, in 2017, he allocated $1 million in discretionary funds to the Central American Resource Center, Garrison, and the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights, CHILA, allowing two of the most trusted immigrant advocacy groups to expand free legal services, community education, and outreach in South LA. Now, if you haven't subscribed, now would be a good time for you to do just that by clicking on the subscribe button and ringing on the notification bell. Be sure to press the like button so that YouTube will share this very important, resourceful video. So, I'm so glad to have you on the show, Councilman.
Well, the honor is mine, with your viewers and your listeners.
Well, you know you're one of us. Most immigrants regard you as one of theirs, and I can see why. So let's first of all start from the fact that you are a public servant, an amazing public servant. I normally would not just give it out there like that, but I've witnessed you, and we'll talk about some of the things that you've done. But I really want to understand where this desire to serve came from, because everyone chooses a different path in life. What motivated you to get into politics?
Well, I think, a lot of the motivation came from the support and guidance I got from my parents. My father was very active and involved. He was a businessman in the community, and he certainly made me aware of the importance of commerce, economic development, business. My mom was a public servant. She was worked for the tax assessor's office for many years as a civil servant, but always instilled in us a responsibility to be involved, to get things done, be active, be engaged. And so they both encouraged me early on, be involved in student government, be involved in my church activities, to be active in local politics, local governance issues. And so I really count them as my sources of inspiration, my mother and my father.
Well, you know what? They should be very proud. I have to say that I have followed your journey, for as long as I've been in Los Angeles. And what has struck me is the fact that when you are with the African community, you are that African guy. But then I come to the new 9th, and even before that, and then I see you, and you're this Black guy with Latinos and everybody else. And I'm like, a lot of the time, we're so compartmentalized, and we're almost raised to think that we only have to be with people that look like us.
Yeah.
Where does that come from for you as an African American to be so inclusive in the dynamics?
Well, I guess I grew up in an multiracial, multi-ethnic environment. The elementary school I went to, Normandy Avenue in the district at the time, had white kids there, had Asian kids there, African American kids. When I went on to junior high at Audubon, again, it was predominantly white and Asian, but yet I was able to excel there, class president, student body president. Similarly, when I went to high school, it was a majority white institution, only a handful of Blacks at the time. And in that environment, again, I was able to achieve, some activities in student government, student body president, et cetera. And I've always just been able to deal with people as they are, and to accept them, with flaws and all, and for individuals to accept me. And I know it goes both ways. but I think that being able to relate to individuals, showing empathy, showing respect, and showing willingness to get along, I think goes a long way.
You're very correct. I think people are afraid of what they shouldn't be afraid of, because doing the Immigrant magazine, our team is used to going to all kinds of communities, and you'll be surprised how much people are more inclined to receive you. And we're just scared. And so when I see your staff, it's so inclusive, so diversified, and the district in which you serve, and you cater to everybody. Now, when you come to the African community, you are that African guy, you're wearing this outfit. And what is it? Do you find a certain kind of kinship in the African community?
Well, I developed that kinship early on. When I was a student in college, I had an opportunity to travel throughout the continent. Matter of fact, I was studying in Italy for 6 months in Europe, and wrote a grant, made a proposal that I should have a chance to travel around the continent. And so, I got an airplane that my project was approved to compare the attitudes of African American students, college students, with African students on issues of integration, separation, liberation. This was 1970, 71. And so I had a chance to travel, from Kenya all the way to Ghana on the West Coast, and cities in between, sometimes hitchhiking, but making friends. I would land in the city, capital city, find out where the university was, make my way to the university. I would meet, students on campus, and found a place to stay. And so I did that in Kenya, Tanzania, Zambia, Zaire, Ghana, Nigeria, Sierra Leone. It was a tremendous experience for me in my early 20s, and certainly solidified my appreciation for the diaspora, the unique role that we play in it, and opportunities for African Americans to engage with our African brothers in ways that we're not doing at that time.
Right. That is very interesting, because now, full circle, here I am, an African immigrant here in the United States, with millions of us out here. And it's very interesting to see the dynamics between Africans and African Americans. I don't know that we're doing a very good job of gelling together and working together. What can we do to improve those relationships?
Well, that's a good point. And certainly these issues related to reimagining the police, reimagining the public sector, goes far beyond just the African Americans here in the U.S. It certainly touches Latinos, it touches the diaspora. And that's why I've been such a strong advocate for us figuring out how we reimagine our law enforcement, how we reimagine public safety. I was one of the authors of the measure to reallocate $250 million from the police. So we were able to allocate approximately 100 million. And those funds are going to be allocated over this next several months. And so we still have a chance to have some input into how that's going to happen. But this whole Black Lives Matter movement, social justice, social equity, is for all of us. And certainly not just African Americans, but our immigrant friends, neighbors, and brothers from the African diaspora, certainly specifically have been especially targeted, as we have been. And so we have a kinship there that we have to support each other.
Yes, I know that you've been such an adamant supporter of immigrant causes, and you are located in 2017, I think $1 million to Carson and Chila. What's the update on that? I want to talk about immigrants in the district. And how
I got some controversy initially, but the purpose of those funds were to help individuals achieve citizenship, achieve a real role in our society. They're living here, they're making contributions. Frequently they're overlooked, and the district I represent is 80% Latino. Great proportion of them are immigrants, impacted by the government's policy and by the president's policy, the president's negative policy. And so as a community, as a city, we certainly are stepping up to appreciating the roles that immigrants play. At the city level, We've allocated several $1 million for legal assistance and for other programs. And I thought that I could set an example by making that commitment to $1 million, 500,000 to two organizations that have a track record, have a history. And I conditioned that money, of course, on their serving everyone, all our immigrant friends, even those from the diaspora, the African diaspora.
Okay.
And so I think overall it's been successful. Certainly there's a lot more that needs to be done, but we demonstrated what's possible at the local level.
Right.
And hopefully we'll set an example for the national government.
I'm really hoping for that because we are now in an election year, and we have the first Southeast Asian and African American vice president ticket for the presidential elections coming up, Senator Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. How do you think what opportunity do you think this brings for us, especially for the immigrant community? What is that?
Well, I hope it galvanizes the community. Historically, our immigrant community has not been coming to the polls. They haven't been voting, and there are lots of reasons. Sometimes individuals come as a student, they think I'm going back in 5 years, 15 years later, they're still here, they got a family, and they just never really engaged in the system, in the process.
Yeah.
But you don't have to be an immigrant for that to occur. There are millions and millions of African Americans born right here who take that vote for granted, who are not registered, who aren't aware of the issues, and who fail to really participate. And so I'm hopeful that Kamala Harris's presence on the ballot, as well as the commitment of Biden, will encourage folks to come out and vote. And it's important that we do. Otherwise, we're going to really be in trouble for another 4 years.
I know you're a student of history, so some argue that, especially when they're talking to the African immigrants or the Caribbeans, in short, the Black immigrants.
Yeah.
Some argue that the Republican Party is the party of the freedom of the slaves, that freed the slaves, and the Democratic Party takes advantage. And so some of us don't even know where we belong. What can you say? And I know you're a Democrat. So what's the argument? What argument can you give for us to make the choice, to help us make
that's a good point. And I think certainly the Democratic Party and Republican Party, has an obligation to make its case. You're right. I think the Democratic Party has certainly taken the Black vote for granted over the years. And that has, and that vote has been led primarily by Black women who have been strong advocates and strong proponents. But for those that are doubtful, I think you have to examine the words and the message, see where people are coming from. And you got to hold people accountable. Just because someone votes Democratic doesn't mean that all things are going to be rosy. No, not necessarily at all. But I think it takes some active engagement, active involvement, encouraging folks to learn the facts, understand what the positions are, and then make a vote in your own best interest. And I think it's going to be clear, Democrat versus Republican, at least in this environment. Yes. Whose interests are being protected.
I'm so glad you talk about leadership, because that's what's key. What kind of leaders do we want? And speaking of that leadership, we're going through a horrific pandemic, and lots of immigrant businesses have been affected. Families are struggling, and the new ninth is very predominantly, if I'm not mistaken, immigrant.
Yes.
So
yes.
What resources have you put in place to assist these immigrants?
Well, first of all, we make sure that our programs are reaching out not just to immigrants, but to others in the community as well. There's still a very strong Black presence, African-American presence in the district, English-speaking presence in the district, and we respect that. But we've been trying to identify those programs that will help small businesses wherever they're located, especially in our urban area, in our Black and brown communities that need assistance. And so I was proud to help sponsor the measure that will provide a grant to businesses who haven't been able to benefit from some of the other programs that have been going around. We've got some programs that are targeted specifically for small business and micro businesses. We will never have enough money, but we're trying to get the word out. These funds are allocated on a lottery basis, but the algorithm for those lotteries now are designed to kind of focus in on underserved areas. And so we want to make sure that everyone, especially our residents, are taking advantage of these programs. Also in CD9, I'm proud to say that we have a grant program. A group of philanthropists came together, provided a grant program exclusively for businesses in the 9th District. So you can only qualify if you were doing business in the 9th District. And so again, it's just a chance for us to work with businesses across the board in hospitality, food services, business development, business services, and we've got to do more.
Yeah, absolutely. I like to speak for the immigrants more because
Yes.
that's who mainstream media hardly ever reaches. You know, we don't get information, and they get their.
No, and that's why we're fortunate for your press, for your contribution.
Thank you so much. So a lot of immigrants don't know how to go about navigating the system and getting these grants. And so what do they need to know about how to access these grants? Some of them are undocumented, as
Sure,
you know.
sure.
So,
Well, they should always contact the council office. They can contact my office, and regardless of where you live, you know, I'm your councilman. But that's the first step. And you're right. Many times our immigrant communities are afraid of the system. You know, they're afraid of the police or the council because in their previous experiences, you know, those have been the oppressive forces in the community. But we're very progressive here in Los Angeles. We certainly want to make sure that everyone plays a role, has a part to play, and people should always reach out to my office. We've also established an Office of Immigrant Affairs in the city of Los Angeles, also an Office of Equity in the city of Los Angeles. And so there's some intentional steps being taken to reassure citizens that programs are designed to assist them are available and accessible. And we just encourage folks to take advantage of that.
that's beautiful. On another note, the new 9th is a very exciting district. There's so much growth. There's so much growth. I mean, the museum is there. The Staples Center is there.
Yep.
We have all the fun stuff. But on a somber note, we lost Kobe Bryant, the Black Mamba, and then we recently lost Chadwick Boseman.
Yes.
Amazing, outstanding Black males, mentors for our children and role models.
Mm-hmm.
How has that impacted you? How are you feeling about that?
Well, both have been certainly impactful. You will recall several weeks ago, Councilman Herb Wesson and I introduced a motion to rename Figueroa from Olympic all the way down to King Boulevard in the name of Kobe Bryant Boulevard. Again, we think that's a worthy acknowledgement of the unique role that he has played and continues to play in the city. But he was a remarkable, not just basketball player, but a real humanitarian. You know, he was an author, he was a filmmaker, you know, a mentor, and a loving father to his kids. And so that's the kind of positive role model we want to see. And Chasman, similarly, in a short period of time, really has distinguished himself in a number of roles on the big screen, but he was also accessible in the community. And he would come to events and activities and programs. And so I think we always have to celebrate our heroes, acknowledge those who are setting a pace and are providing a real encouragement, not just for Blacks and those of us from the African diaspora, but for the entire world. He's a world, they both were world leaders and world inspirations.
That is so amazing. I just want to end on a note to say, you're not running for any office this year, so we're cool on that.
No, I'll be running in 22 though, so stay tuned.
Yes, so you're way ahead of your time now. But what can you tell? This is a very important year. What can you tell immigrants about the importance of participating in public service, especially immigrants who may have the ability, they may not run for president because they were born here.
Use the other room. I would say, you know, this is a unique time we're in. This is a unique time we're in, and it really is a window of opportunity, a window of engagement. And so for us to take advantage of this, first of all, to recognize it and then take advantage of it it's going to be very, very important, not just for our kids, but for the future. And so that's why I'm very proud to be an elected official at this time in the city of Los Angeles. You know, I'm proud that we've been able to advanced a number of cutting edge initiatives, everything from increasing the minimum wage to rent moratoriums during this pandemic, to providing economic resources to our small businesses. But we got to do more. You know, we are in the middle of all the good things you talked about our district. You know, it also has the second highest population of homeless encampments, individuals experiencing homelessness. You know, and it's just it's a scourge to all of us, and we have to do more. We have to do better. We have to be able to get people off the streets and off the corners, and an effort to provide them with some real resources that can make a difference. And so, again, even on that note, I'm proud that in CD9 we've embarked on a policy of temporary housing, permanent supportive housing, and affordable housing. Because we have to do all three, I think, in order to solve this problem and to really make sure that our most needy citizens have access to the services they deserve.
That's amazing. And so, one more word for our immigrant community,
yes.
C9, and everybody else. Last word.
Well, just that we got to work together. We have to stick together. You know, the immigrant community is a wonderful ingredient in our tapestry.
Okay.
You know, immigrants provide so many resources and the substance of making our life better and enjoyable and more creative. And so, you know, then we have to recognize that, we have to embrace that, we have to encourage everyone to be actively engaged and involved, and even our immigrant community, sometimes especially our immigrant community, because they understand, you know, sometimes better than many, the trials and tribulations. And the commitment required to be successful here in the U.S. You got to keep trudging. You can't give up. And we want to make sure that we're providing access and resources in a way that help that complement that, encourage that, support that, so that we all can rise together in our community. That's
awesome. I'm not going to touch that because you said it all. We, the immigrants, will bring so much more value, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to having another conversation with you as things unfold, and hopefully the pandemic subsides, that we get control of it, and that people can go about enjoying the beauty that the new night has to offer, basketball and all the fun stuff.
All that fun stuff. Well, again, thank you, Pamela and Charles. I know he's in there somewhere.
Yes,
but we just appreciate the leadership that you both have shown, not just in the communications arena, but as activists in our community concerned about making sure that we all achieve the kinds of lives that we're entitled to. So again, thank you for your service and thank you for your program.
Thank you so much, and see you next time.
See you again.
Bye-bye. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed it just as much as I did. If you did, I would love to hear what you think and about our discussion today. If you didn't, I still want to hear from you. So please share them in the comment section or send me an email at publisher@immigrantmagazine.com. We want to hear what you have to say. We want to hear suggestions. We want to hear what you want to hear more of. So see you next time on Immigrant Magazine Weekly here on Team TV's Voice of Immigrants in America. Be sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram @PamAnchang, and like us on Facebook, The Immigrant Magazine.